Good to go? Call the meeting to order at 6:38. For the record keeper. We'll start with citizens' input. Nope,
Get to go first.
nope. You're on agenda item number 9.
Oh,
I'm gonna put you to the front of that number though, but not yet. We gotta do the other stuff first.
Me first?
Yep. Come on up, state your name, date of birth for the record.
Dave Fridley, 504-625-7786, for those in the military. I was talking to Jason and Eric, and, you know, one of the things when we had that guy come and evaluate the course 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years, something like that.
Yep.
One of the first things he said was, you know, put the tees, or put new tees in, or putting more of them. And so I'm just having to live with somebody who's been bitching about this ever since. I just started doing some research of my own. And I kind of looked at what Baker Crossing did. You know, they got 7 sets of tees now. And what they did while they were building tees was they just put it up there in the short grass, a bunch of tees. So, I mean, when I first thought was maybe we just move the reds up, which is what I approached Eric and Jason about. But the more I thought about it, you know, we could even do another set of tees and just move them up. And I looked at what Baker's has of their set, you know, they got 7 boxes, that they have a similar one where it's 4,600 yards. We could very easily do 4,500 yards, which is kind of where he was saying, if I remember right, 42 to 4,500.
Yep.
Put them up there and just put them up in the short grass. You know, not do anything special. We don't have to re-rate the course, although, you know, you could actually use what, you know, Baker did when they rated theirs once they did it. But just get it so the younger people who want to play up some, can be away from the, you know, what is ours again? 5,600 yards and 5,646 yards. And I don't want to make a rocket science out of the thing. And what I've even offered, I'll pay for a set of tees and donate them to you. I mean, yes, Jason's got one more set of tees to mow around, but now we get it up there and we look at how many we've got extra golfers we've got this year. I think Saturdays and Sundays in particular, that would help a lot. And again, back to reference Baker again, you know, they have two of their sets of tees are what they call family-friendly tees, which are even, you know, 3,600 and 4,000, and like I say, this one is 46 something. So all I'm thinking is, and I did this pretty quick last Sunday as we were golfing. I just kept going up to where we could put it. And even number 12, when talking to Julie Van Gorp and some of her friends, and my wife Sarah, I was like, well, you know, there's no way Jason put it up there without it being on a slope. But you know what their response was? We got to hit our second shot on a slope anyway.
True.
Because we can't reach the green. So I thought, well, you know, I went up on the right side as you go up the cart path. There's a little dip. It's still a little bit on the upslope, but you're 90 yards out. Put it on a tee. So I kind of broached that to Julie and some of her friends when they were playing, and they're like, oh, that would be all right. It'd be kind of cool. And Julie mentioned the state senior last year, women was like 1,000 yards. I think she said almost exactly 1,000 yards shorter. So again, so nothing rocket science. And I just said, I mean, you can buy tees for $600-700. And I know money's always an issue. I'll pay for them just to get a certain person off my back. and you know, and get it up there. And in fairness, we played Central Valley today. It's about 600 yards less. She shot about 20 strokes better because she was a happy camper, and so was I then. But so anyway, that's kind of what I'm throwing. It's not to really give Jason and his crew more work, because it is another set of tees, but I would do that. And I know, because you got everything all rated. I mean, my original thought was just move the reds up, which still could be done, and these could be moved up even further at such a point when we get all and make it into a, you know, the family type one, and move it up to whatever, you know, you guys think is fair.
I think it's a good idea, just even in the interim. I mean, I have to obviously discuss it with Jason because of more work, but, you know, we've got the plan to build those tee boxes.
Right, anyway.
And in the meantime, what's wrong with going out and sticking them? Now, the other issue could be, you won't have a course rating for it, so I don't know how that affects their handicap. So
I actually was on that committee, and I rated courses. temporarily, they can put your stuff in and change the yardage and get you a temporary handy, so you can use it. Now, you're gonna have to put some sort of marker, kind of so it's basically the same length all the time, but it's real simple. They just, that entry your yardage, and you know, the topography is gonna be different, but until they get out and rate it,
Right.
it's pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at using that with Baker again, it was like 67.2 by 108. But there again, this is going to be a tournament tee. This is really for family, older, younger, to be able to get up there and play and not. And again, we went through this years ago when none of us wanted, including me, wanted to play the Reds. You put the gold tees up on those tee boxes. And I was one of the guys that moved up a few years later. So it's like, okay, so you do need to see it.
As of right now, when we do the new tee boxes, when the STJ came in, they re-rated the course
Yeah.
for the existing tees, and they took our plan.
Okay, so they've put a new
They
rating.
put a new rating for those new tees when those do come into effect.
Right. So you do kind of have a rating if even if Jason just moves them up there and he doesn't have it.
Well, if we move them now and they post on the red tees, they'd have
be
to
wrong.
go in manually and
Right.
get the yardage, because if they just post from the red tees right now, it's gonna show from the 50, whatever, 600 or what you said on there now.
Yeah, either that or you'd have to adjust back like you have to do otherwise. But, I mean, I don't look at these tees as being able to be, again, it's not really tournament, not really trying to do it for your course rating. It's just speed of play, take that distance away, and, because we were just so long from the Reds. But, again, that would be my offer. I mean, I'd pay for them. I mean, nothing fancy, just something that gets you by, another set of tees. I mean, he kept talking, I want to say 6 sets of tees, and, you know, that's,
Can you talk into the fancy?
well, that'd have to take over a beer or two probably, but,
One thing that stuck in my mind was when he was here, he says, yes, Lynette Shaddick was here, and she says, what do you use on 3? She goes, driver.
yeah.
Short par 3, she said, driver. She said, you should be using the same club men's use, roughly. You know, you should be using a 6-iron, you know, so the tee should fit your game. And Kristen played every 18-hole course in the state when she was there, and we were the longest course, ladies course. Also, we play short. There's no crossing creeks, you know, no laying up. But, you know, we were the longest course in the state. And that, somewhere in number 5, while I was here, Kevin built, the ladies used to hit where the whites were at. And that's 12 years ago. And Kevin built that one.
Well, yeah, because, and that's all I'm saying is, you know, Kevin made a bunch of improvements and moved some of those tee boxes up, and that helped a lot, but it's still just so long. And that's all I'm saying is, for a set of tees, and again, I apologize to Jason because he's going to mow around them, but, you know, what are we really doing this for? We're doing it for these, I'll call it the older, younger, anybody who wants to play up, doesn't hit very far. You know, and I was surprised talking to Julie, she's not here to.
The other thing they are doing is going away from reds because of the old fashioned.
Right.
You think of reds, you think of ladies. Now it's all, you know, the terminology is forward. And, you know, so maybe when we do get new tees, maybe it's time to do, you know, most of our reds is gold. Very little difference, but because the gold jumped on without tee box.
Because all our tees are really old anyway, but again, I'm just saying, to buy the ones with the ball, I mean, they're $13, $14 a piece. Buy 36 of them, put them out there, and shorten the course up. And,
We'll discuss it.
yeah,
That sounds
okay,
good.
well, let me know, because you
I
can
like
get them
the
in some as early as a week or even 3 weeks. I'm getting tees, and Jason had mentioned to me tonight that he's going to move the reds up approximately where they're going to be anyway while they build the tee boxes, so just something to, but I'll make that offer, and then we'll go from there.
Sounds good. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. Any other citizens' input?
I don't know if this would fall under citizens' input or not, but noticed when Jason sprayed for mosquitoes the other day, like kudos for that. But then 3 days later, we were back at it again, right? Which is not a knock on anybody, right? But do we have a spray plan, going forward, or?
So for public input, just, my microphone doesn't seem to be working. Okay. Jason's using the same product that we use in the parks, that we do public spraying with. So it lasts about 2 days is what you noticed out there. So for anybody listening out in the public, we spray, mosquitoes hatch again within 48 hours, and it starts all over again. So it's not a permanent solution when you spray.
Yeah, and I totally understand that, right? And this is not by any stretch a knock. Like, I'm just wondering, like, if there's a plan going forward, like, every couple of weeks. And, like, I don't know what it costs, right? Like, it literally is just a public information type thing.
We'll be spraying tomorrow with the city spraying the city tomorrow. Our plan is to spray tomorrow also.
So you're saying there's mosquitoes out there?
There's mosquitoes.
Good to know. I've got a couple items. One is I got a bunch of feedback from the adult junior tournament. My grandson and I played in it, and the comments from the people we were playing with, and then I had people approach me on the street outside of that environment that said that that's the greatest thing they've ever done with their kids. And so kudos to you and Jason for setting up the course. It was a 9-hole scramble, and it was an absolute blast. I mean, we had both nines pretty much full. Really, really well received. Lots.
Each year, I'd say it gets bigger and bigger. I mean, when it first started, it was probably 16, 20 teams. This year it's 50 teams, so.
Very, very good. The other item I had, and he's going to kill me for this, Tom Young got his 5th hole-in-one last night on number 8. And did not buy his son-in-law Gatorade or anything. Did you go to the Zesto?
Mac, you never bought anything?
Nothing.
I have 9 grandkids, and I offered to take them to Zesto, and they were watching a movie and having popcorn. They turned me down.
Did you say it out loud?
Yeah.
You
My
waited until the
my
movie
wife
started.
told me not to say it.
Were you with him?
No.
You didn't get to witness it?
But he called me. His son-in-law was with him, and apparently he's
Good
reliable.
for you. What's hole?
The last time he aced 8, there was just a deer as a witness. So I went out and interviewed the deer, and it was valid. Any other citizens' input? Okay, we'll go on to delegations. Any delegations? Okay, we need approval of the minutes from our last board meeting.
So moved.
Joel? Joe? Any discussion? All in favor of approving those, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Financial reports. Starting with the cemetery.
I'll just kind of breeze through these since we have a lot to talk about. Cemetery revenue, we're a little bit behind last year, but I have a feeling that there's a few things that weren't. Just timing wise, didn't get in time to be counted in on last month. So, but we're close on revenue for the cemetery. Expenses up a little bit for differing reasons. So, anybody have any questions on financials for the cemetery? No?
Nope.
Okay. Cemetery bills. I did not see anything in there that was some herbicides, some growth regulators, some odds and ends stuff, so nothing out of the ordinary. Anybody see anything they want to talk about? Nope.
Keep rolling.
Okay. Golf course revenue. Page 3. Oh, back one. Revenue, we're ahead of last year by about 34,000 approximately on this. We had a little bit of a down month in June because of rain and weather and a couple events that got postponed or canceled. So it's, but, I mean, everything's looking, if you compare it to last year, everything's looking really good. Some things up, most things are up, a few things are at or maybe a little below last year. So. Any questions on revenue? For expenses, up a little bit on salaries. As far as other current expenses, pro contracts up a little bit, but that goes with revenue. Supplies are up a little bit from last year. We had some extra costs on some stuff, so there's quite a bit left in chemical. I just have some stuff that hasn't been paid for yet. Otherwise, yeah, like I said, expenses are up, but the revenue's also up, so. But everything, I think, is looking fairly good for this year, and as long as we don't have too many more floods, we should be all right. Anything on the financials for the golf course?
Nope.
For bills, there again, some chemical was a bigger bill.
That was slow. Not you, screen.
Otherwise, yeah, other than that one big bill, Eric's contract's in there. Just a lot of general stuff, utility bills. Anybody see anything they want to talk about? Nope.
Looks good.
Okay.
Need a motion to approve the financials?
So moved.
Joel? Mark? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved. Clubhouse report, Eric.
Just going off from the financials, obviously June is wet. Rounds were still pretty good though. I mean, we almost reached 5,000 rounds again. In June, had the 2 days closed or 2.5 days closed, 7 days in total with basically no golf. And about 3 or 4 of those were weekend days, so. Postponed 3 of the events, that'll be later in the year. John Paul II will be rescheduled to August. SDGA Junior Tour events rescheduled for July 23rd. Twin Cities Fans is September sometime, I believe. And then we had to cancel a class reunion, the class of 2004. They just had a tee-timed outing, and the other one I missed on there, we canceled the ELO golf outing. They still came and ate. I grilled in the rain for them. They still ate that day, but they canceled their golf outing. Junior golf camp finished up, as Jeff mentioned earlier. We had the end of the kids camp, the adult junior scramble, which went well and was a perfect evening for it. The 4th of July weekend turned out better than what I thought it was going to as well. It was a big weekend from basically Wednesday through yesterday. It was a big weekend for that with missing the rain and stuff. People were still able to get out and play. I was prepping here for July events that are upcoming. City tournaments out at Lakeview here, 2 rounds this weekend. Then we have Big Friend, Little Friend on Monday, and then we have the Senior Tour tournament on the Tuesday. We have Big Dummies Bar and Grill tournament on July 20th, and then we go into the member guest on 27th and 28th. Rounds memberships on the next page. Actually, we just took in a couple more college memberships yesterday, so we're actually 643 total members, so we're 100 members up from last year. With Fun Passes still getting renewed and stuff throughout the course of the of the summer, so some of those membership numbers don't include if their membership was last year, say, August 1st, until they renew it, it's not included in these numbers, so until they renew their Fun Pass, since that's a 12-month contract on the City of Mitchell Fun Pass. And you can see the punch card numbers down below. That's all I've got.
98 members up.
100 now.
100.
I took 2 more in history, college ones, so we're at 19 college memberships.
Very good, very impressive.
Big one you notice is the family membership. That's thanks to the Fun Pass too. That intrigues a lot of people.
And are you still seeing a lot of green fees too?
Yeah. I don't know if it was just because it was the 4th of July weekend, but it was very busy public play on Saturday, the 6th, 5th, 6th. And I think I told somebody it was like 1 hour of tea times was like 1 or 2 member groups, and every other tea time in that hour was public play. So I don't know if it was just because of the holiday weekend, but public play is still up. Even today had 4 tea times back to back to back with guys that came from Howard, and I can't remember the other town, but they take advantage of that senior weekday rate that we have. And they came out this morning at 10 o'clock and play here. So. And they all complimented the course when they were done. They actually said they played last week and the week before at 2 other courses, and our mosquitoes were a lot better than those 2 courses. So it depends on where you play, and some people say the mosquitoes are horrible, but then I got guys that like that say that they're not that bad compared to other places. So.
All right. Anything else for Eric? Thank you. Superintendent's report.
For the cemetery, we have yet to locate our water leak under the road in the cemetery. Kind of waiting for the water department to come out, and they're going to jet a trench next to each side of the road and see if we can locate it. And then when we do find it, we'll probably have to dig a trench across, and we'll have to fix the road, so. Had to pump a lot of water off the community gardens and the cemetery. We've been having to pump out graves ever since the rain. That's kind of a delicate situation for cave-ins and everything, and then so that's going to be ongoing, especially if we get any more rain. I've been working on budget for cemetery. And then for the golf course, working on tree removal and getting ready for the project. We were closed for 2.5 days because of the water, to get water pumped off. We'll be spraying for mosquitoes tomorrow night, working on budget also. I didn't have this in here, but Dunnick stopped today, the project manager and 2 of the superintendents, and so the superintendents could get out to see the project and everything. They will be, one superintendent will be here on Thursday, Friday of this week to kind of get set up, start taking deliveries, all that kind of stuff. And then Monday we'll be starting in on the project. So be kind of slow for the first couple days, and then kind of ramping up after that. So.
Kudos to your staff. While you were in sunny Yellowstone, they did a great job
Yep.
getting the course prepped and drained and
Yep.
Is that what all those other memberships came in, when Jason was not?
Very funny.
they did a really good job.
Yes, they did. And I told them that.
Good.
Anything else for Jason? Okay, discussion item, moving out of bounds left on 10 Green. I'm allowing 2 minutes discussion on this.
So I guess what my intent, the reason why I left this a discussion item is because I have all the stumps to grind out regardless. So even if you guys would have said to move it, I wouldn't move it now because of that, because it would make no sense to do that. That's why I left this a discussion item. I wanted to just get you guys' general feel on it, and then we'd go forward with that. I probably don't even really need board approval to move it, so that's why I left this as a discussion item. So.
I've talked to the groups I've played with, and they've been indifferent to the concept of it. I think if you do move it, a partial move would be fine, but like you say, you've got trees and stuff to deal with before that happens.
I did talk to Scott Holman about it, and he says, well, I'm still fertilizing it, and I know it's not irrigated, so you must be pulling hoses. But he said, it's time, and I said, well, most likely not going to get watered and not going to get fertilized. You fertilize any of your rough that's not irrigated?
Not very
Yeah,
often.
nobody does.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you want it to not grow as fast. But anyway, just make sure he was on board, because he's mowing it now, he's keeping it up. And he said, yeah, it's time. And I said, okay, I'll tell him.
Any comments?
I don't have a problem with it.
How far are we going with it?
But that's up for discussion, I guess. We could go up to the property line, or we could go partway, or,
So there's an electrical box that's about behind 11 T box. That'd be about halfway to the property line. I don't think even if we would end up maintaining it, I don't know if I would move the OB all the way to the property line.
You say property line, that's the one that's 75 feet over?
Yeah, it's, there's that big cottonwood tree in the backyard of Scott's with the rock all the way around it. Property line's actually all the way up to that.
Just to make it clear, does Scott want us to take?
Yes.
He wants us to.
Yes. Or we might not. That was this weekend. So, yeah. I just thought, well, I'll touch base to make sure that he's breaking his lawn, mowing it right up to the OB stakes. Maybe he wants to keep it, Yeah.
So what would you have to do with the trees that are right on the OB line now?
So we've already taken, or there's already been 6 or 8 taken down. They just need to be ground out, cut down and ground out. There's one more tree for sure that I'm gonna take out. The other one, I'm kind of on the fence about, depending on its health, going through the year. My intent is probably to leave that one. Otherwise, like I said, we were on our way to stumping those trees this spring and winter, and we just ran out of time.
So Jason, if you talk where the tee box is for 11,
Yep,
and you're going back to the west,
yep.
how far are you going back? I mean,
Well, that's just it. We'd have to make it look good. I mean, it would have to, you don't want to come to here and cut straight over and then back again. So it would have to be a gradual, whatever we do, so.
So I didn't catch the general consensus. I didn't hear it all. Are people in favor of that? Or was it, I know it's just discussion, but Jeff, you said you had a lot of people, are they in favor of moving that over?
they didn't care either way. Didn't make much difference.
I did the same thing with the guys that I golf with, and their same comment was like, oh boy, do we really need to do that? So I mean, I can maybe see maybe 10, 15 feet, but I don't know if I can see going a long ways over personally. But if we do anything.
There again, until it all gets cleaned up, as far as moving the OB stakes, I mean, if you guys want me to start mowing back there, I mean, that's totally different, but,
I'd say in the meantime, just work out whatever you can with Scott as far as maintenance. If he wants to keep mowing it up there till we make the move, fine. If he wants to stop at his property line, he certainly can do that.
Yep.
And then later on, we can make a decision once the stumps are out, where the out of bounds is going to be, and we'll move up to that spot. And if he wants it trimmed up the other side, we can do that. Or there'll be a nice little weedy gap between our mowed spot up to the out of bounds and his property line. And in the meantime, we can still keep talking to our groups about what the preference may be. But we've got time. That was 2 minutes. Right on time. Okay, cemetery capital equipment and capital improvements. This is for budget recommendations. And we're going to start with the
Before Dean gets started, I got some handouts. I don't know how many of you were veterans, but if you are a veteran and you're familiar with cadence calling, one thing about us cadence callers, we could never count to 5. We were mathematically challenged. So that said, I've arranged these packets in 4 less. Take one and hand it down.
Can you tell us your name too and what your role is?
Dean Strand, Vice Chair of the Servicemen Cemetery Board, and this is Dwight Stadler. He's our financial guru of the Servicemen Cemetery.
Thank you.
What he's handing out there, I'm pretty positive tonight, pretty positive. What he's handing out, you'll see a picture, if you want to call it that. This is very crude because I don't have a computer, and I'm not going to get one, but when I left here last month, I left with the feeling that you wanted the bathroom located down by the new shelter that we built a couple of years ago. And instead of studded walls and finished on the inside, you kind of wanted it to be somewhat of a shelter to get inside during storms. So we changed it to cement blocks. And these blocks will look just like the blocks over at the Cadwell baseball, the big park over there. And it'll look quite nice. They will have a metal roof, metal soffits, and everything, so that it'll look somewhat like the shelter. If you turn to page 2, I have a number down in the corner. That is the layout. It's a unisex, I guess is the right way of saying it. Male, female, and the others that are out there now. There'd be a stool, a urinal, a sink, and then a small room for mops and brooms and that type of stuff. There'll be a baby changing station just to the left of the entrance door, and there'll be a 6-foot overhang from the entrance door out. We're probably going to put a little bench there where people can sit and wait their turn. I smallened it down from what I was in here with 2 times ago. We were 10 by 16, and by taking out the privacy walls between the stool and the urinal and the sink and the urinal, we were able to take 2 foot off of it. So this is bare bones. Is this kind of what you directed? I'm going to ask questions. Any changes that you would suggest? I'll jot them down and I'll have to come back again. But this is kind of where we're at. If you go to page 3, and I know all of you know the layout of the cemetery, but just in case you don't, if you look at this, The blue line down at the bottom is 23rd Street where you turn in. And the west entrance, everything on the left-hand side of the road as you're going north would be the Kippus Park. And as I said before, the Kippus Park is actually not city property, so to speak. It's in the county, so we kind of run into a little snag there. But where you see the red mark in the upper right-hand corner, if we go to the next page, which is really crude, I drew it out. The Servicemen's Board does not want a monthly bill like water and sewer and electricity and whatnot. We do not want the liability of the building. So if you look at what I've drawn out there, there's a dotted red line, 120 foot by 120 foot, and we're proposing, and this was Joe Kippus's idea. The Kippus family gave us the property back in 1976 with the stipulations that there would never be any graves there. It would always be for a public type park. And it was actually his idea that we basically give it to the city. We can do that one of two ways. I've talked to Kevin and Stephanie. We can either do an easement on that property using the word perpetual, which means forever. Or we can just do it as an outright $1 and other valuable consideration. So this is what we're proposing to do. And if you turn to the last page, page 5, this can be done. It was done in 1987. This is a copy of the servicemen's given on the west side of Kippus Park for a bike trail that it could be put in, so it can be done. Okay, one page that you don't have, and it's a changing number. And I know this is going to be scary to you. It's scary to me. I can't believe it. But for what you're looking at there, the estimates that I've been able to get, and I've got two from each trade, it looks like this is going to be a $64,270 project just for a bathroom. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's what it is. I talked to Dick Muth from Muth Electric this afternoon. He said they would donate the electrical, which was $6,950. He suggested that I go over and talk to Frank Cromer too and match match the game. Eric and Joel and the Muths had on Father's Day the Veterans Golf Tournament out there. And I have a check that they haven't told me to cash yet, but for $13,000, and that was earmarked for this bathroom project. So that brings it down to $44,320. I have another individual that wants to have his name kept, not put out in the public, and he said if the city would pay half, he would pay the other half. So we're down to $22,160 it would cost you to have a bathroom in that 47-acre cemetery complex. And Joe, you're looking at me. I didn't know this was possible. You asked last time I was here about if it was going to be locked at night. There's actually the technology nowadays that'll unlock the door at 8 in the morning and lock it up again at 10 o'clock at night, and that's figured into this. Okay, I'm open for questions or suggestions.
I told somebody after the last meeting, I said, now we gave Dean a project, and he's going to come back very detailed. That's awesome. Good work.
This number here, this 22,160, I haven't talked to Frank Cromer yet, that could change. But the anonymous donor said that he felt it'd only be fair if he did half and the city did the other half. So that's kind of where we're at. It's a moving target here yet at this time. Maybe I can get some more donors, I don't know. But the worst case scenario for you guys for your financial budget would be that 22,160 as it stands right now. Subject to change tomorrow. Could go lower, it won't go higher. And I'd like to get started on it just as soon as I could.
What's the present monthly electric cost off the shelter?
Right now, our electric bill, well, here's our finance guy. Okay, down on the Kippis Park area where the monument is, 23rd Street, where we have all the military flags, and we have an unmetered, no, it's metered, light on that that's on all the time. We have our storage garage that you see on my drawing there. Then we have the little white building up in the center of sections 1 and 2 of the servicemen's, and a light pole across the street. And our monthly bill is approximately,
Northwestern Energy monthly bill runs pretty much on average around $65, $70 a month.
this bathroom though would be could be on a separate meter if you guys wanted it. We do have, just the way things are wired, we run into this Memorial Day, a lady was gonna come out and sing, and she wanted to bring her backup band and stuff along, and the wiring that we had out there was not heavy enough to cover all of that. So on this bathroom deal, there'll be a 200 amp panel installed to supply the bathroom and the shelter. So I can't answer the question until it's in and going, you know, of what the monthly charge would be. And then there's also the water and sewer charge that the city would not be billing us for.
Right. To me, it seems like a no-brainer.
I'm sorry?
It seems like a no-brainer to me.
Well, thank you for saying that.
It's something that's needed out there. Obviously it'll, depending on what we discuss tonight, it'll hopefully get included in the budget recommendation, and then it goes to the mayor and then to the council. And so to start digging tomorrow, it's not going to happen, but I'm hoping we can move fairly quickly on it, but.
Hopefully I can get that number a little lower too.
Would you guys do any research on tying into the city utilities there?
As far as being able to do it at that location, it's the closest there.
Okay.
Yeah, there's water and sewer 50 feet behind.
90,
Oh, is it 90 feet?
Yeah.
Okay. 90 feet behind where this would go.
actually 88.
Somewhere between 50 and 90.
Gotcha.
We have had multiple conversations with Dean on this to try to make it, if it would go forward and everything, so it would kind of match the shelter, color scheme and whatnot. Of course, this would have block in it, so it would that'd be a little different, but there's no way of avoiding that. But I guess with the way he built, or the shelter was built, I have no doubt that this will be built in the same manner, so as far as that is concerned.
When you take the cost of the shelter and the cost of this bathroom stuff, it's like giving the city about $145,000 gift.
Yeah.
I'd say less people we need to do.
Do we need to, as a group, approve this specifically, or does that get lumped in with the other budgetary stuff for the cemetery?
Since it's not listed separately, I would ask that you group that together with the other things and say that this is a project that you want to tackle along with the rest of them.
You want to put that in a motion to proceed as listed with Dean? Well stated. Is there a second? Thanks, Doug. Any discussion?
No, I don't know if it matters, but it's just that, like you said, it's a no-brainer. So I don't know how emphatically we need to say that for, the people who do make the decision, but I walk my dog there every morning, and that's just in the morning, and the traffic in the cemetery is large, right, between walkers, and people working in the gardens and everything else. I mean, it just is, and especially with, the work that Dean has done, and with, Moo throwing in the electrical and, potentially finding somebody else. I mean, $22,000 for a bathroom out there. I mean, come on, right? And for the amount of use that it's going to get, it just is it's the biggest no-brainer out there. So I don't know how emphatically we need to say pretty please, but
I think it's important too, just having a safety shelter.
absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
Joe was pretty emphatic with his motion.
It was a very emphatic motion. Yep.
I agree. I think it's a good deal. Any other discussion?
Dean, is this place going to be heated?
It'll be closed in the winter months when it's freezing, but the way that I understand from the electrician, when you open the door and walk in, the light and the exhaust fan, and in the cold months, that we will have a heater that does come on. We're going to have one of the very small hot water heaters that when water flows, it heats the water, so you aren't heating like a 55-gallon water heater all the time. And the way the plumber says, he's going to have about 4 quarter-turn valves that will open in the fall. We won't even have to blow it out. It'll drain everything down. That, to answer your question, the only time it would be heated would be that heater would come on early spring and late fall, depending on when Jason and Aaron decide to open it in the spring and close it in the fall.
Any other questions?
Jason indicated they'd take upon themselves, his staff, the cleaning of this facility.
Very good. Anything else? Let's vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That passes. Good work, Dean.
Well, hopefully I can get a
This is-
smaller number also.
This is the first step of many in the government process, so.
I'm finding out. This is year 3. On the light side, it's hard to get people to give you quotes when you've already been there twice. They say, oh, you again? They say, we're too busy to mess with you. It was tough getting the third quote again.
Yeah, well, great job.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dean.
All right, Jason, Kevin, any of the cemetery?
For cemetery improvements, besides the bathroom, we'll be going after the cemetery expansion plans again. These plans wouldn't necessarily be full detailed plans. It's just concept plans that would give us cost estimates so we know what we're asking for when we get to that point. I'll reiterate again that spaces in the cemetery are becoming more and more sparse. Families coming in wanting to have multiple spots, any more than 2 or 4 spots is really rare unless if you go in the flat section. Cemetery expansion is going to happen here soon. If it's going to not be through a designer and a contractor doing it, our staff will have to come up with a plan and between us and engineering come up with something to get something started.
And the plan is to go west first, isn't it?
We could go either way. Part of that will depend on when we get the cost estimates. We'll see how much it's going to cost to this area compared to this area, how many grave sites we'll get with this area compared to this area. It all depends. The one reason why we were looking at going west is just our thinking is that it would be a lot less expensive to do that. And we could, not for the whole area, but we could cordon off smaller areas open up this section, and go like that. So that's part of this plan that I'm asking for, is if we have engineering company or a landscape designer design it and give us some cost estimates, we know what we're dealing with. Right now, we're kind of spitballing, and so that's.
So that's the 20,000 for that?
Yep, 20,000. I asked for that. I don't remember, I think last year I actually asked for like 49,000. That was actually for full-fledged design of both areas, so. So this at least gets us a cost estimate, like I said, so we know what we're asking for and got a general plan on what it is, so. So I'll just, since we're not really approving one at a time, I'll just kind of go through the rest of it. If you guys have questions, you just ask. We want to try to get concrete on the west side of the shop right now. It's just dirt right now. That $9,000 isn't going to pay for somebody else to do it. That is for, I have a guy on our cemetery crew that is pretty comfortable doing concrete work. As long as I can give him some grunts to work on it. I've done some concrete work, but I'm not a finisher. Aaron's done some work, but, so I mean, I think between us, we would do the whole thing in one shot. We would kind of go against the back wall, do a 10-foot section and work our way out. So $9,000 should cover cement and rebar, essentially, with a little bit of playroom. So we'd probably go a little thicker right between the two doors because that's where a payloader would be and everything else. Going deeper out in, it's just going to be mowers and that kind of stuff. So anyways, it's just kind of trying to update the shop. We're doing the front side of the shop this year. I had $27,000 to spend on that this year. Still nailing down a contractor on that. I'm waiting for a couple numbers for him to get back to me on. So that'll be done this year. And then eventually, I think the plan is just to kind of keep going around the shop and probably the back side and the west side to do that at the same time. So, and then we working on insulation and windows and just doing that as we go and making it more efficient and more better environment. So, and then so that's it for the cemetery for improvements. For the cemetery for equipment, we're asking for a payloader again. That was $95,000 after trade-in. The one we have is getting older and they do not make them anymore. It's really hard to get parts. Luckily, it hasn't broke down lately, but just a matter of time. And then the other thing for the cemetery, we're going to ask for a gas utility cart for a sprayer for Aaron. We used to have two. The one engine blew up. We've been kind of getting by with just a golf cart with in a box. Doesn't quite have the right turning radius. This one would be lifted a little bit, so it's easier to get around and everything. It has a little more capacity for a little bit bigger sprayer. So that's $14,000. So that's it for the cemetery. For the golf course, the equipment package that was technically already approved, but they'll have to put it into the budget, so that'll be the first thing in this year for the golf course.
Just a second, Jason. I think we need to just take action on that for the cemetery. That's broken down into two.
Oh, yeah, it
Two
is.
categories,
Okay.
so.
Yep, I'm sorry, I forgot about that.
Oh, that's fine. Do you have anything else there, equipment improvement wise, or is that it?
Nope, I think that's about it. We knew that we had, the cemetery expansion was very important and the payloader is very important, so we're trying to keep things pretty simple. So
Need a motion to approve the cemetery capital equipment and capital improvements.
So
Joel? I'll second it. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Nay, same sign. Approved. Now, golf course.
The equipment package is pretty straightforward. Like you said, it's already been ordered, and that'll be the first thing in the budget for this year. Just a matter of how exactly we're going to pay for it. If the city's going to front the bill and we're going to pay them back, or if we're going to get a loan for it or pay for some of it out of our cash. So,
And just keep in mind that 310,000, that's a lot of upfront money. His equipment budget in the past was, what, around 60,000?
it's been 65 to 75,000 a year here for. So the intent when this all came about was to have about a $65,000 payment. Yeah, over 5 years. So if the city would decide to front the bill for it and we pay them back, it probably wouldn't even be $65,000 if we stretch it out over 5 because the interest wouldn't be as much. If we end up getting a conventional loan through the dealership and their financial institution, then that dollar amount probably will be about $65,000 with current interest rates. But we won't know that for sure until we get the actual equipment and we know what the interest rates are. So.
Is that a balloon at the end, Jason?
Yeah, it's,
Pays about half?
yep, it's all paid for at the end. Yep, so we would own it at the end. Yep. And that is 2 fairway mowers, a sprayer, and a big rough mower, so. Any questions on that? No? Okay. I'm going to start from the bottom here. So with the new construction and everything, we're going to need a few new T signs. Matter of if we try to copy with what we've got now or if we go a different direction. And then also number 16, T sign got stolen last year, so we'll have to replace that yet. So I'm figuring on about 5 signs to be made. I buffered that number a little bit so we had enough. And then 20,000 for entry sign. That will possibly be, where that gets stuck for sure is up in the air. I'm also asking for some money to finish those back 2 tee boxes ourselves on 15, since we weren't able to get that in on this project. And then with that, some money to do the other forward tees. We did have some money for that, but that kind of got lumped into this project. So we're going to need a little bit of cash for materials to do those tee boxes. So most of that 50,000 will probably be for those back 2 tees, but there again, it's we get used up. And then 60,000 for the cart paths to finish them on the current phase. We ended up taking that paving them out of this phase because of cost. Trying to make it more palatable. So right now they're going to do just 6 inches of gravel, and then figuring at a later date we would pave them. So. Okay. So then we have phase 3 in the driving range and short course. We had the discussion about pushing forward on phase 3, and then it got discussed on the driving range and short course. All said and done, phase 3 would be about 460,000, and then the driving range 800 some. with the 3-hole short course. So I think the total bill was like 1.4 million. So, I guess it's just a matter of if you want to move forward on those or with everything or not.
So after last meeting, we talked about this phase, moving into phase 3. To me, it makes sense to keep pushing forward. I know Joe's not in favor of a pond on 5, but that's fine. But the one thing that will do, and it's not just to toughen up hole 5, there's drainage issues that it'll address with the other ponds. Because right now it dead ends at the pond on pond 3 with a small drain going out from there. And in events, rain events like that, you know, the water has nowhere to go except down 14 and the overflow anyway. So it'll tie into the other ponds. And then it will toughen up number 5, which in my opinion needs to be done. It's a straightaway boring par 5. It'll be a risk reward type situation for the end of that hole. I think it'll greatly improve that. It will also swallow up some tee shots from 14 as well, so there's kind of a dual purpose. And I think on phase 3, there was also the mounding behind 14 that was included in that.
Yep, so essentially all of 14 would be redone. It'd be new green, new tee, a pond. I do not believe there was any bunkers on that.
I don't remember any.
And then number 5 green would get rebuilt, and then number 4 tee would get rebuilt. And tee would get moved to the west, 5 green would get moved a little bit to the east.
So we talked in the past about cleaning up that area behind the maintenance shop, visibility wise, and that's addressed in there as when they redo the green, creating those mounds. So instead of a fence or something, a tree line, it would be some berms that would, grass and stuff that would kind of hide some of that equipment, make it a little bit more appealing to the eye anyway. And then we talked about it at the last one too. We've had some significant input on this short course concept. And that's even ramped up more once we started talking about it. With the volume of people we have out there, and especially me being involved or watching my grandson at these youth events, I just see that as a great starting opportunity for people that aren't ready for the course or just want to go simply work on their short game. Jason mentioned this to me the other day, that there's also the possibility of, instead of putting that short course on the south side of the driving range, there's actually there's enough room, it looks like, where the old bowling green is, and utilizing some of the terrain in that area back in there that would make actually a really nice 7 to 8, maybe even 9 hole short course in there. It would require some more dirt work and moving, but when he showed me that, it made sense, because it's close to the clubhouse, so you'd have control versus being all the way down in the south end of the driving range. I know I was in Brookings today, and Edgebrook has I think they have a 9-hole short course on the outside or on their driveway coming in. And each one has its own tee box. They split some greens between one or the other. I don't think any of them is more than maybe 80, maybe 100 yards,
Yeah.
something like that. And there was people on the whole thing. And they had their kids group out there, and they were taking them around to each of these holes as well. And when he showed me that spot, I'm like, God, what a cool location to put that and still have visibility and control. Now, they charge like $7 to play that short course, or if you have a membership, it's included in your membership to play that. But if you didn't have a membership and just wanted to go play that, it was like $7 or $10 to play. That obviously hasn't been designed out. The one south of the driving range has, it's part of the phase 7 or whatever it was, maybe.
I don't remember what it wasn't the last phase, but.
But once people started looking at this and seeing that, and then the use of the driving range is just through the roof. To me, if we're gonna do it, maybe do it all at once. Actual landing areas, redo the driving range, and I don't know if that's included in there, but
Yeah, and that could be decided if you want to, I mean, do you want all the targets and all that redone, or do you just want to do the tee? Do you want to do the, I mean, that's,
to me, it makes more sense to do the targets, to have an actual landing area, green-looking type spots where you can hit the ball to with a flag instead of just a dome mound and you see the ball hit and you really don't get anything out of it except that. And at the very least, the closest holes, so you can see where, so they're sloped towards you or bottom to top when you look at it. But
Can I ask a question on how our parking situation is in terms of being able to accommodate? And then just a question, influx of, let's say, 10% more people coming out there, are we able to accommodate that daily?
that's one thing we're blessed with is space out there. We've got one of the largest parking lots of any golf course around, and there's still parking available on the other side of the cart sheds in addition to that. So, I mean, on a busy day, I don't think we use maybe 60% of the entire space of the parking lot. I mean, is that pretty accurate?
Yeah.
Only time it's been overflowed was state tournament.
yeah, when they got buses and
Buses and vans that take up 2 spots, yeah.
State AA boys 2 years ago, wherever we had it out there. Other than that, even the biggest invite, there's still parking spaces.
And it's just the opposite of church. Everybody goes as close to the clubhouse as you can get and then work your way back because nobody likes to, you're going out and walking or whatever, but you got to be right in the front. So most of it's right around the clubhouse anyway.
The other thing with the driving range is that there is a AstroTurf teeing line built into that also. So in the spring and the fall, or if we just wanted to give the tee box a break, we would have that opportunity also.
And I was out the other night on the range, and it just amazes me as much use as that has, just by using the little white tees, how filled in and nice it is where it wasn't a few weeks ago. I mean, that grass comes back quick. And most of the activity is right by the machine, and then it gets less and less the further down you go. But to me, that turf area in the back for, especially in the spring, would just be great for usage. Now, the other thing is, and then I'll shut up, we're going to be in a position cash-wise to be able to contribute to this project. And I think that's a big selling point to, hopefully the mayor, I haven't talked to him about this at all, the new mayor, or the council. But, my proposal or my idea would be that we put in $200,000 to $250,000 towards the project. We go out and seek donations to match that from private individuals if we can do it. And then the city comes up with the balance of it. So, I mean, we could, and I've talked to some people about it. I think getting to that private donation range of $200,000 to $250,000 is very, very doable. And then go from there.
You know, I'm on board.
Well, I think the time is, and ultimately, we just make a recommendation. It's up to the mayor to include it in the budget. It's up to the council if they want to deal with it, but it's got to start here. And, we're in a position golf-wise, due to being busy, the situation, the unknown of Wild Oak. I mean, we've seen a lot of golf activity, whether it's a direct result of that or not, or just we're getting overflow. I think this is the opportunity to capitalize on not only the momentum of golf, but the people that are coming out there to try and ride this wave as long as we can. Because I look at all those kids that are out there, if they stick around Mitchell, they're all future golfers, potentially. And it is so hot right now. To me, the timing is good.
Well, and it's not if you build it, they will come. It's like they're already here.
They're here.
And we need to build something for the people that are already here, right? Just even from a practice standpoint, right? Can't get on the course like I came out on the 6th with zero intention of getting on the course. Just go work on my short game and hit the range. And when I came, he's like, I hope you don't want a tee time. And I'm like, no, I don't. He's like, we are packed to gills. We have been all day long. Well, this now gives you an opportunity, right? For those people who maybe did come with the intention of going out and playing. Well, you can't do this, but you can go do this. Like I said, they're already here. It's just
You've got an hour to play versus a 2.5
Absolutely.
hours to play.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And again, the kids, right? Like I went through that junior program with both my kids, right? And even Emma, Emma's, going to be 13 and golf junior varsity this year. And she's like, Jesus, Lakeview is long, right? And it's daunting for, 12 and 13-year-old kids who can play a little bit. Well, now you're giving those kids an opportunity to go do something else, right? That's still on the course, still worthwhile, that they're still going to be able to hone their skills, but they don't have to go out and they don't have to play that long course as well too, right? I mean, it's just like, we got the land, right? Like usually, that's the problem, is you got to go out and buy the land. We got the land, right? We're just doing something with the land that we have, and like, the need is there, right? It just makes sense.
I know it's in one of our phases. When were we going to shave 9 and 18, as he suggested? To become a bigger, usable green.
5 or 6, I don't remember.
I would look for something like that before I started looking for a mini course or added to that phase.
Sure.
And I guess if that's something that would want to be done, I mean, adding that to this, you're going to be talking some real money, but it wouldn't be, you wouldn't want to bring in a contractor just to do those, because he's going to charge.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yep.
You're going to be building in the next year.
Yep.
You've
Well,
got the equipment here to,
yep. Yep.
it just makes sense to me, rather than let them go home and bring back, that we look at doing that too.
Sure.
I believe that was in phase with when we were doing a majority of the bunkers and that kind of stuff. I believe that was in that phase, so without looking, so even if this was approved for next year, this construction wouldn't happen next year. It'd be kind of like this last. It would get bid out next year, and then it would be the year after, so we're not talking construction next year. So if that's what you're thinking, that's not totally accurate, so.
It's a council question. I'm sorry, go ahead.
The 250,000 that you're asking they're going to match, what is that for? I mean, is that?
So what we did was Jason and I looked at Norby's estimate on what those phases cost when he sent out that list, and there was, at the bottom was like 2 or 3 million, whatever, for all 8 phases at the time. But so looking at phase 3, we looked at what that number was. We added 30% roughly because of the COVID costs and stuff, because this was all estimated prior to COVID. And so we put a 30% figure to be in line with our current bid on phase two, I mean, percentage-wise. And so, and then with the interest in the short course and the driving range improvements, it was suggested that maybe we lump these two together, phase three and that one, you know, we call it whatever we want. And then, so that total was like, we figured about 1.4 million for those two combined phases. And so what I'm suggesting is that we contribute out of our cash approximately 200 to 250,000 with some matching funds from private donations, wherever that comes from. And then the city do the balance because this is a capital improvement. So that's where that
In conjunction for the 1.2 million, is that what you're saying?
That's, so you start at 1.4 and we're gonna have enough funds, hopefully, for about 500,000 of that. And then the city, we'd be looking to ask them for the balance.
And tell me again, when are you planning on asking them?
That'll be, well, what we need tonight is a recommendation so that Kevin and Jason can put that in their ask for the mayor for the budget. So just like what we did with the cemetery and those equipment, this would be included in that. They make, you know, whether it makes it or not, we don't know. I mean, and so from there, if the mayor decides to include that in his recommendation to the council, then it'll move forward and then the council will decide on it.
So do you have enough of a plan, do you think, to present to them yet?
I think we do, because we basically have.
When I say that, present it to the council,
Yeah.
or whoever, do we have enough of a plan to do that?
I have a broke down cost estimate on, now, Jeff talked about moving the par three course by the Bowling Green. That would not be in what he sent me because we had that conversation after he had already sent me those
But
estimates.
it's on the other side anyway, right? It's on the south side.
South side.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. And so if we did that, we just,
It doesn't matter where it goes.
Yeah, it just a matter of where it's designed for and whatnot, so. So I do have cost estimates for these two different projects from Kevin Orby. Yes, there is a plan set for, so.
And in addition to that, that wouldn't deplete us of all our cash. I mean, there's still a cushion in there, so if a mower breaks down or whatever,
I just wanted to make sure we had enough of a plan that we knew it also.
Right.
Because what happens if you're gonna say, well, we're gonna go out, we're gonna raise some money. I don't mind trying to raise money, but by golly, we better have a really explicit, I mean, on paper, this is what we're doing.
Yep.
To go out and say, okay, I wanna raise, I don't mind going out and trying to raise 250,000, but boy, we have to, to make those.
100%.
We really gotta have it honed in, at least I think we do.
Without a doubt. And, I mean, that would be something as simple as taking what we already have. I mean, we already have the drawings, the renditions and all that, with the breakdown of the cost estimates. And if this is what we're looking at doing, this is what the cost is, this is what we need to make up. And so at this point, I mean, it's pretty general. I mean, in terms of how this, I mean, the mayor may just say, let's pay for the whole thing. And the council say, yeah. And then we're like, go to work.
I think we sell a couple lots.
But we all know that's not going to happen. Yeah, so we're prepared to move to that phase if they decide to include it into, this is a recommendation that we want them to include it in the budget. And it's got to jump through all those hoops before we ever even think about that.
How quickly would we have to answer to the council or the mayor in terms of how much money we're throwing forward towards this? Like, are they going to want to know that when they vote on the budget?
Yeah, it pretty much have to be. So we could only commit, I mean, as far as the golf course is concerned, could only commit so much because we can't go too low. And they can tell us how much we're able to commit to, so.
Like when they did the indoor pool, they had I'm guessing at these figures now, I think they had $1 million pledge over 5 years for the aquatic center to repay back. And I have no idea where we're at on that because they haven't given us a report on that. But anyway, so that's what they did with the proposal when the aquatic center was pushing. They would, I mean, you really want to push the kids, what we can do with this to the kids. You know, I mean, that was the swim team pushing that. And, you know, when the pool went down, they had to go to hearing, you know, they heard about, you know, we need activities for kids. And if you're going out golfing, nothing's worse than seeing 3 beginners that are 10 years old with their push carts taking off the tee time in front of you. You know, nobody wants to follow them, but yet we want to grow the game. And when you're following them, you think, ugh. Yeah.
Well, personally, I think the par 3 kids example course is a fantastic idea too. I'm just, want you to know, I'm on board with that. I don't know quite on the north side where that go, but it sure would make, are you saying you go all the way to maybe Kix's house? I mean, close to that, and then back towards the Tupper resident that way, and clear those trees all out?
So,
Go ahead.
so Kippus's property line goes probably back a little further than what you think it does. We definitely wouldn't try to crowd right up to the property line, and want to try to keep neighbors in good standing. It would probably go fairly close to the backside of Tupper's shed to get it fit in there. So, I mean, it'll have to all be laid out.
So Jason, did I hear you right, that there would be possibly 8 or 9 80 to 100-yard holes? Is that,
Yep.
did I hear that?
It would all depend on how tight we would want to get it, and, I mean, if you want a little more space and just make 6, or would you want to cram it in? So it all depends. But there's probably as much room there as there is on the old driving range, and it's probably pretty close.
Okay.
So I'm not, and when I brought that to Jeff, I was like, it's a possibility. I wasn't saying we should absolutely do this, but it would make, number one, it would probably be a little more interesting of a layout. And number two, it would be a little bit more control on the access of it, being in that location rather than going all the way down the old driving range. And it would be really hard to, so it was an option and just something to look at, so.
So you're building, you want to talk about building 3 holes. And so you take 12 golfers and they take up 3 holes.
Yeah,
It's not serving a lot of people.
well, the 3 holes were the start of the one on the south. If we decide to move it up in the area here, we could do more than 3. And I think we'd want to. I mean, as far as, for that exact reason, because you'd have a bunch of people in this small area. But next time you're out there, I mean, look at this area. There's a fair amount of room. Wish I had a laser pointer, but you can see where the red line's the property line. Can you move the screen to the left a little bit? Your other left. There you go. So the area would be about where the cursor's at there, all the way down. I mean, you could probably go without interfering with the tee box on 10.
You can see where Alvinson that crosses over too.
So you probably wouldn't want to go any further where the cursor is right now, because it starts to get fairly thin, and then you take the chance of players from 10, safety issue. So.
And then that would also, if we did decide to do that at whatever point, it would allow a lot more opportunities for practice areas on the driving range. So make the far south end an iron only, and then have closed targets and a sand trap or sand traps to practice bunker play on. You're not hitting drivers down there, you know, because the houses are close, but you've got a ton of area to create whatever you want for additional practice space. The main range could be for full irons and just something to think about.
Can you slide it up so we can look at the driving range in there so we just see the turf or down, whichever way you want to call that?
So does it zoom too much, it boxes it in.
That's the right height, just
A little higher so you
lift
can
it
go
up.
to the cart path.
There you go.
That's- yeah.
So where the proposed 3 holes are, is this general area right in through here?
So there was nothing down where the practice, down at the bottom where the little practice green is, going to the south, there was nothing there, that was just open?
So-
He overlaid additional holes in there for future expansion to go around the corner.
The intent was to do the first 3, see how well it went over, and then in the future phase, do the rest. Yep. Yep.
And you kind of are opposed to that because it's far away versus going over by the Bowling Green type thing.
You know, if our clubhouse was where the ball machine's at, it'd be a different ballgame.
Sure.
But then you look at fencing and control in and out, and,
Oh, I get it, I get it.
yeah. That's why the stuff north of the clubhouse made so much more sense.
Well, you don't realize it, Jeff, you get back there and you got trees and you got little hills and you don't,
I never looked at it that way.
no, you'd almost have to be up on top of the drone to really look and see all that, that's pretty cool.
And when you go out there and look at it, the potential is neat for some character to them. So it's not just a green, T-box. You can leave some trees in place, a lot of creativity there.
Since he sprays tomorrow night, Wednesday would be a good day to look at it.
Yeah, there you go. But I think this is a good starting point anyway, and I mean, if we do decide to go that route, I think we can always add or amend it at that point.
What do we need to do tonight? Make a motion.
Well, yeah, we go back to the budget stuff on the golf equipment package, which is $310,000, and then the golf capital improvements. We're estimating that phase in the driving range at 1.4 million, and then the other items Jason highlighted out. And obviously, that would get articulated to the mayor or the council as to, because they're going to see this and go, $1.4 million. Well, this is the discussion we had, this is our recommendation, if you decide to go that route.
I was just going to ask you, so do we need to make like the caveat in like the motion of $1.4 million, but with potential in-kind monies of approximately 500,000?
Yep.
Like, is that how that works?
Is that right, Kevin?
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
So then I would make a motion to improve the $310,000. The cart paths for $60,000, the tee boxes, the entry sign, the tee sign. Phase 3, and then the driving range with the short course with that one specifically at approximately $1.4 million with the potential of in-kind cash of approximately $500,000. Is that fair?
Yep.
Make that motion, whatever I just said.
That was, I don't think Joe could have said that better.
I'll second it.
He might have. Tom seconded it. Any discussion? Okay. Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of Joel's motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Just so I understand, is the equipment in that motion?
Yes. No. No. Well, it's in the same motion, but
Do you
it's,
need two motions on that?
I think he,
Once you shut it down, put the equipment as part of the shutdown. Or
Your first.
No, I'll be asking for these separately.
just making sure.
Yeah, so,
You'll bring it.
yeah, I'm not asking for everything.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah. I'll probably even split out phase 3 in the driving range as two different asks, or do you think that should be all the same? Okay. Good. So.
okay. Anything else? We're adjourned. Next meeting, sorry.
August 12th.
I knew she'd come up with it if I waited long enough.
It's not,
Good work.
it's corn, it's not Cornhouse, is it?
I don't think it's quite yet.
Cornhouse is later than that, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, that's the end of the third meeting on this.
Look it up.
I like your idea.
Stay in
I like
baseball.
your idea.
It's gonna be, probably the first day.
You know, I look at, okay, look at.
But it's third, Wednesday,
15.
no, we're Tuesday, no, day before
The
conference.
white, sweep ahead,
Yeah.
and the red.
August 21st. Cornhouse. It's a starting date.
Yeah, well,
See, I don't know if I'm a fan, and this is really gonna be next week. I like things, but not, that's how you defend things. Taking paid positions on, I like it. But the way that, about the big one, the white ones longer, because the guys that you shot, I think would have. We just shot, I think it was Marcus right there. Right.
Right.
No, by just saying, what's that mean? I think that seems like what you guys got. Just wanting to lay out.